Morning, Gary. Okay.
Everybody started.
This means the TV is rolling now and people are staring at my bare face? Okay, thank you. Hey, good morning. I'm John Hutchings, and I'm the vice chair, but I'm stepping in for Bud Blake today, the chair. He has an excused absence, and this is Commissioner Gary Edwards. And we're going to start with, do we do the introductions?
If you like.
Let's do that. Romero, go ahead.
Yeah, Ramiro Chavez, County Manager, and the reason that I'm wearing orange today is in celebration of the Public Works Department, which is this week is the National Public Works Week, with all the Public Works employees and staff celebrate all the wonderful accomplishments they do on a daily basis. And what I do wearing orange is the unsung heroes, because it keeps all the roads in place, it keeps all the water flowing, and as well as we get all the sewer disposed properly. So I like to, the Director of Public Works is here, and she will not be able to attend this afternoon where you will be considering a proclamation. But I'd like to stay directed to her. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for everything that your staff do on a daily basis. And at least I can speak for myself. Everything that your staff do doesn't go unnoticed.
I don't think you're speaking for yourself. I think you're speaking for us as well, because I believe we feel exactly the same way. I think as citizens, I think we generally take things for granted oftentimes. And it is very important what's done on a day-to-day basis. And please relay that to your staff.
Before we continue on with introductions, how many times, Jennifer, do you get calls from the public saying, wow, I got to where I was going safely and the road was perfect, stop sign was unobstructed, traffic was flowing, the pothole was filled? How many times do you get, good job, versus, I got a problem or an issue?
I would say that not generally. Not generally. Those aren't the calls that we normally get. But I will say that we do get quite a few emails and calls of appreciation for the work that we do out there, which is really nice to hear. I think that it shows to the people on the road crews, in sewer and water, that what they're doing is appreciated. And like Romero said, I won't be here this afternoon, but I did want to express my sincere appreciation for the board's support. Staff appreciates that as well. They know that you care about the work that they do, and very, very grateful for that. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, because you are very appreciated, but underappreciated as well, I think. So go ahead, Robin. Thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead, Robin.
So just to echo what everyone else is saying, yellow is almost orange. But,
it's the new orange.
Yeah. But so appreciative of everything the Public Works does. And I'm Robin Campbell. I'm the Assistant County Manager.
Labanita?
I'm Labanita Goldmar. I'm the clerk of the board for the Board of County Commissioners.
And Robin? Thank you. And we'll just wait till we get people up here to the table to do that. This is the agenda setting for May 22nd, and we'll start with the agenda. We'll call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. or 1400. Are there any presentations that we're aware of?
May I, Commissioner, on the Pledge of Allegiance, since you're going to be chairing the meeting, could you suggest that perhaps Commissioner Edwards will take the lead on that?
I can handle that.
Thank you. We'll go in there anyway. Yep, thank you. Then we'll approve the agenda for today and the meeting minutes of May 15th. And if there's any changes to the agenda, we'll know that before the end of this thing is over. Presentations, Public Works. There is a proclamation for National Public Works Week.
Yeah, and Tim Wilson, who is the manager of the Noxious Weeds and Lakes, he will be coming to you provided with a video of, I don't know what the video is all about. Hopefully it's appropriate.
It is.
And also there will be, I believe, a lot of public works staff wearing orange this afternoon, and that will give you an opportunity to extend your appreciation on the work they do on a daily basis.
Okay.
And also we'll have an opportunity to have a picture with all the brothers and sisters.
Perfect. Do you have your vest in your office, Gary?
I did check. He has a
I
vest.
have a vest. in
Do
the
you?
office.
Okay, mine's at home. I will bring it in, but this will be my stunt double just in case I forget.
Okay.
It'll be here. And how come there's just one proclamation when it's Gary reading, but when I'm doing proclamations, there's like 8 of them?
The intent of this short agenda this afternoon is to allow you to make to the Visitors and Convention Bureau annual meeting, which is held at the Grey Wolf Lodge at
Okay.
3:30 in the afternoon.
All
So
right.
it was intended to be a little bit shorter this afternoon's agenda, just to give you the time to travel.
Thank you for that. And Gary appreciates that too, I'm sure. So you'll read the proclamation, Gary.
I'll do it.
Thank you, sir. Opportunity to address the public. Are we expecting any feedback, comments, concerns?
Not that I know of. Commissioner.
Nothing anticipated? Okay. Those are one of those things you play it by ear. County manager's update?
I don't have any specific updates, but I would like to probably start reporting on some of the items that you have heard on the previous week. And for instance, you heard on the mineral lands, you've heard on the fees related to the interim process, and not necessarily going to be stating the decisions that perhaps you are pending, but certainly if you have made a decision on some of those items, I will highlight what those decisions were.
Okay.
So I will try to go back a week and just give the public an indication of some of the different briefings that you received and some of the decisions perhaps you make.
Is that what we're doing coming up pretty soon then? After this agenda set, or agenda,
Yeah.
we'll talk about mineral lands. Okay. Consent item number 3, consent items A through E. Letter A, resolution changing the salary position or salary range for position 40R01067.
Yeah,
go ahead.
You heard this item last week, Commissioner. This related to reclassification of existing position. That is biologist positions in the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Human Resources performed this audit, and as a result of that, also did a market analysis where they determined that this position needs to be reclassified in terms of the compensation. So the proposal before you goes from this particular position from $6,839 a month to $7,181 a month. That will be $342 a month increase, or about 5%. And the department is not asking for additional budget allocation. They can absorb this within their current allocation.
For the remainder of this year or for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the remainder of this year.
Yeah. Questions or comments, Commissioner?
No.
Okay. Was it 3? 3B?
3B is also a request from the Department of Public Health and Social Services. And you perhaps you see a little bit of a trend here as you approve in the past some of the reclassifications or review some of the positions in CPED. Here's also in Public Health and Social Services. The new directors are going through the process of assessing all the different positions they have on their department and they start aligning to their business needs. And this is some of the steps the directors are requesting for you to support. So item 3B is a reclassification from an existing position of Education and Outreach Program Assistant to an Education and Outreach Specialist 1. This request is associated with an emergency preparedness in which requires additional high-level qualifications. I'm sorry. And the result of that is an increase in salary from $5,103 a month to $5,908 a month, or $805 a month, or 16% increase. And again, the department is not asking for additional budget allocation.
Could you restate that, please?
Yeah. This it results on an increase in salary from $5,103 a month to $5,908 a month. an increase of $805 a month, or 16% increase.
Is that a little, I'm just curious, seems like a little bit excessive for a mid-term increase. I don't, how does that fit
So
with
the,
other folks?
And part of that question also, Romero, is do the job descriptions or duties change?
So the existing position is an education outreach program assistant. We already have a existing position, which is the outreach specialist 1. The salary in between those two positions have not changed. It's just the reclassification from one position to another. So the new position has high level of requirements that really is aligned to the emergency preparedness support the public health and social services is planning to do. So this is really the request, because you're not approving a change in salary on any of the positions. You're considering approving a reclassification of an existing position.
But eventually that's going to cost us more money, and it's a substantial amount.
Yeah, and I think the public health and social services, all this is, they have a lot of grants. No, everything is related to the general fund. So they do have the ability to use those positions for using federal and state grants, as well as general fund location.
Okay.
When there is room.
Well, when there's room, what's applicable for the job they do.
But what we've seen is that they are already using the entire amount of their grants.
So the previous one we just talked about, reclassification, and this one and the next one we're going to talk about, emergency services, are pretty much the same description. Job duties change a bit.
Yeah.
They're absorbing it for the remainder of the year if they use it.
So what happens there is
increases the cap or something?
Yeah, so if there is a pay raise along with the reclass, that increase would be absorbed through the end of this year, or actually it's through the end of the biennium. We just happen to be in the second year of the biennium. And as we develop the budget for the new biennium, one of the things we do is zero-based payroll. So they will get however much their salary is becomes part of the budget.
Which overall impacts the ending numbers, the ending balance.
Ending fund balance, but these are not necessarily general fund.
Okay.
Even so, though, I think this probably is beneficial towards retention.
Yes.
Keeping up with the market, so to speak.
And yes, and for instance, related to that, as you may probably heard, our financial services manager for the county there in Bennett has accepted a position with the city of Olympia.
Yeah.
And the job market is competitive at this point. I mean, we're facing a very low rate of unemployment, so there's a lot of jobs available. And really, what we need to do is probably look at ways to how we can retain quality employees in the county. And I understand that compensation is not the main factor for employee satisfaction, but certainly is a factor. And going through the process of, if we have a position that in all the similar counties, if that position is paid less here in comparison to the like counties in the region, there's something that we need to address, and this is as part of the process for you to consider that.
And that's part of the consideration that HR uses.
And HR always goes through that
reevaluates.
process. So any request that comes to you related to human resources positions, HR is the clearinghouse. They go through that process. A department cannot submit directly to you a request for a reclassification or a change in salary. HR is the arm. They make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right, 3C, emergency services reclassification.
Likewise, on similar request, and Kurt Harding is going through the process of realigning the current positions to the business needs. And this particular request is reclassifying an office assistant 2 to a senior office assistant, and the impact will be from $3,909 to $4,409, and excuse me, that is $410 a month, or 10% increase. And I believe the majority is going to be covered by Medic One.
Okay. Questions? 3D, David, Central Services.
Yeah, this is a new item. You have not had the opportunity to review this particular item. So let me take you back a little bit in terms of the Sheriff's Office, the field office on the New Market facility in Tumwater, the Sheriff's Office has. Since they moved to that facility a few years ago, they had an issue on internet connectivity. They had T1 services, which is very cumbersome. It's just one step up of the dial-up services, you may remember. So there always has been an issue and always has been a challenge as to how we can probably give them a better connectivity, because bringing cable or connections from here, from the courthouse to Tumwater is almost impossible, financially impossible. So this is, I have to give kudos to Martin Case and his staff to find a way to provide a much better service to the Sheriff's Office. And this agreement is with the Washington State Department of Transportation. They have a field office nearby, and they do have fiber optic cable, and they will allow us to somewhat piggyback on that system, that we can provide connectivity to the Sheriff's Office via an antenna, and at no cost. So it's zero cost.
What's that about?
Well, you know, and that's what I have to give kudos to Martin and his staff, because is really having a good relationship with the state offices and state government in a way, and this is the result of that. They have an infrastructure. They're willing to partner with us, and they let us use their internet service.
We won't overload their system either.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
How long ago did the Sheriff's Office move in there? How many years?
Help me out on that one. It was 5 years? 6 years?
About 6 years? And so this is 2018. How come we're just dealing with it now? I would imagine they've always had that problem. Please. Martin Casey, ladies and gentlemen.
So when the Sheriff's Office moved out there, initially their anticipated level of support for internet connectivity, they didn't expect to need very much, but after they got in and realized that their operations were becoming increasingly dependent on that, the need grew over time. As Ramiro mentioned, some of the initial options that we looked at, such as trying to bring actual fiber optic cable directly there, partnering with the Port of Olympia, partnering with the City of Tumwater, partnering with other entities, were extremely high-cost scenarios in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, which would not have been cost-effective or feasible. And so we've been continuing to explore different options over time, exploring with different cable service company vendors and so forth. Recently, as part of those conversations, we revisited with DOT the agreement that we already have in place. We have service through them for access to fiber optic cable strands in a number of locations. They had extended their fiber optic network to a facility that they have out of the airport property, which is adjacent to our site, very near to it, and they have agreed to activate 2 strands of that fiber for us at no additional cost, and then we should install a transmitter to connect it up. The net difference in speed takes us from T1 line at about 1.5 megabytes up to a gigabyte. And so it's a major increase in speed and connectivity.
Sounds good. Sounds too good. I mean, it sounds really good.
Well,
Yeah.
happy.
It's a
Shockingly good.
development, but it's just as infrastructure has expanded, new opportunities have presented themselves. We've been watching for them, and this one is now ready.
Oh, thank you for your leadership putting this together.
Absolutely, Martin.
Kudos to Brian Ferris and Mark Jameson and the IT department
Great.
A lot of work on this.
It's kind of it should maybe surprise you, but it surprised me that the Port of Thurston County, I'm sorry, Port of Olympia, wasn't more amenable to working something out with us.
I would say all of the partners have been open to trying to work something out. It's just been a matter of feasibility, the technology, and the costs aligning.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
Well.
been good conversations all the way along. It's just been difficult to get to a
Yeah.
mutually workable solution.
Well, good job though. That's good news. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
3E, Echo.
Item 3E, this is your weekly approval of the voucher list.
I guess, could I have a question?
Certainly, yeah.
You'd mentioned something about Darren leaving. When is that taking place?
I don't know when is his last day. We just received a notice from the Mary Hall, the county auditor, late yesterday, announcing that he has accepted a position as the finance director for the city of Olympia.
That is a huge benefit to the city of O. I mean, it really is.
And a big loss, I think,
It's
for
a
us.
big loss for us.
I do believe that it's a big loss for the county, but again, we just have to find a way to keep moving.
He's exceedingly smart and just really nice guy. So that's just too doggone bad. But I wish him the best.
And we tried. We really tried to.
Oh, did we?
Keep him. But
Katie, you'll probably get back to us and talk to us about some of that in the future. I mean, I know it's not our shop,
Yeah.
but
Will he have an exit interview?
I will ask him if he's interested in the next interview. They don't have to when
Right.
somebody leaves
Yeah.
employment, but certainly I will reach out to him.
it might be beneficial as we find somebody
Yeah.
else. Although, again, it's not our shop. That's Mary Hall's business. But
Right, yeah.
we certainly depend on individuals
Yeah.
like
Well, we're
Darren. I
connected.
mean,
Yeah.
for me, having become accustomed to the budget and kind of when I see that Darren's dealt with it, you develop a certain relaxation, I guess.
Yeah, there's a level of trust.
Yeah.
And he's been a great partner to the budget shop, so.
He's been in the county for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a significant investment on both sides.
But in a way, I'd like to probably see the positive of the whole thing is how much the county has provided Darren with the skills, the experience, in order to be competitive in a different jurisdiction. From the personal point of view and the professional development, from Darren's perspective, I think is a good thing.
Oh, I think wish him well.
Yeah.
Yep, and he takes the county with him to the land of O.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, Public Health and Social Services, approval of interlocal agreement with the City of Olympia for specialized recreation services.
Yeah, you also reviewed this item last week, and Margaret is here to answer any questions. This is related. This is an agreement with the City of Olympia to provide recreation programs for youth and adults with developmental disabilities for a cost of $13,720. That will be compensation from the City of Olympia to the county. And they are, as part of this contract, there will be up to 370 hours of programs and projects related to this.
Questions, Commissioner?
No, other than, I guess no question, a comment. I like to see anytime the jurisdictions are working together to accomplish things for our citizens, and this is a good example of that.
And for services with DD folks. Absolutely. Good, thank you. Will you be here? You said you'll be here this afternoon then? Okay, great. Thanks, Margaret. 4B, public hearing.
Yeah, you also reviewed this item. This is to set a public hearing for the 2018-2022 Housing and Urban Development Consolidated Plan and the 2019 Annual Action Plan. The public hearing is requested to be held at June 26, 2018, 3 in the afternoon in this room. And in fact, later on your agenda today, Gary's going to give you the details as to what this plan is all about. So if you have any questions, I will probably ask you to wait until Gary has the opportunity to give you additional details on the program.
Okay. Anything further? Okay, good, thank you. 5, Central Services, negotiating and execute a contract for architectural and engineering services.
Yeah, this is related to give the authorization to the Director of Central Services, Martin Casey, to start negotiating with architectural firms for the design, what we call the flex unit. That is the extension of the jail. Last week, we had a conversation that perhaps may be an opportunity to see if, because this particular project is funded by READ 1, I think we have been very fortunate that READ 1 has incurred additional funding coming in, so there's capacity.
That's
Perhaps,
due to the good economy.
Yeah, good to good economy. So created capacity that perhaps we may look at the possibility to add 1 or 2 courtrooms in association with this project. So operationally, as you can probably recall, the conversation makes sense. Superior Court is supportive of this approach. That is going to be alleviating some of the pressures that we have in terms of the capacity of the courtrooms here at the courthouse. And also looking from the corrections point of view, the transport of inmates is tasking. It costs us money, and that is also be addressing, at least mitigating some of the transport needs of inmates coming from the jail all the way to the courthouse here. We checked with Martin Casey, and Martin Casey has touched base with I believe with the attorneys as well as with the team. And the way the RFQ has been put together, there's some latitude to increase the scope to add the courtrooms design and so on and so forth. So I think all that has been checked, and this is for your consideration to approve and give the authorization to Martin Casey to start negotiation on the cost and the scope.
I guess I just
and
comment.
Martin is here to answer any questions.
Please, Martin. Thank you.
I would just comment that this has the potential. It's more than just the transportation, because it comes down to efficiency, the possibility of lowering our inmate count in that facility through that efficiency, maybe getting away with so many beds being rented outside this jurisdiction. All around, I think it could save us a lot of money and actually make a not very good situation a better situation. And so look forward to seeing what you come up with on that.
I agree. I think the benefits of this project has a broad impact.
And everybody should know that we're going to include all the players as we move along in putting this together, so there's nobody surprised as we come to some type of a solution on this.
Right.
Yeah, everybody has input. Is that okay? Thank you. Well, thank you, Martin.
That was a very good presentation, Martin.
You're dismissed. Number 6 on the agenda, commissioners and county managers items.
This section of the agenda will give you the opportunity for you to tell the public what you've done on your busiest schedule, because perhaps what the public sees is perhaps this meeting and the board meeting, but your schedule is pretty much packed on a daily basis, and it's not just from 8 to 5. Sometimes goes on the weekends as well as on the evening meetings. So, and again, it will give you the opportunity to tell the public what you do on this past week, or what you've done on this past week.
All right. That takes us to the end of the agenda for today. And so going back to this one, I'm going to jump down to PIO check-in because our very own Megan Porter has another standing commitment she'll need to get out of here for, so we'll turn to the PIO.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to do a couple brief updates. We taped Commissioner Blake's August Thurston County Connection show on May 9th. It was with the K-9 unit, and it was really fun. Commissioner Blake and Ramiro both hopped in the bite suit and fought a couple dogs. Then they compared their bruises and all that fun stuff.
It was a war.
So it was quite fun. I started contacting individuals for the Courthouse and Civic Center projects citizen advocacy group. I've reached out by email or phone call to 25 people. I've gotten 4 yeses and 1 no so far, so I'm just waiting for more people to respond. I have more people on the list, but want to get a chunk done first and then see if I need to reach out to more. The web coordinators work group is continuing. We're going to be meeting in June to talk about options to move forward and bring forward to the commissioners for hopefully a bit of money out of the budget to redesign and redo our webpage or our whole website. I'm working with Michelle Underwood with budget on an OpenGov story on the Comcast cable franchise agreement. Hopefully that's going to go out at the end of this week. It's going to have a survey component to it, asking the citizens, about the services they receive from Comcast, what they'd like to see, those types of things to help the county in moving forward with that franchise agreement. And then I attended the STEADY, which is the South Thurston Economic Development Initiative, right? Yep, that's right. Okay. Yep. Group on Friday to talk about the public information office and what we do and how we can serve South County better. I think it was a really great connection with that group. It's a large distribution. It will help us get the information out to that corner of the county, and then it will also allow them to provide me with feedback. I set up a meeting with the TRPC representative to talk to them about their communication. So it was a really great networking opportunity, and I think it was well received. And then the final, I do need a decision. The CGI promotions videos that I talked about last week and sent out the information to you, I need to have if I can get one, please, a thumbs up or a thumbs down to move forward with that because they want to get it scheduled, and they're scheduling about 6 weeks in advance. So this is the video promotions. The promotion group would come and develop the videos for us. They would be asking businesses for advertising, but it's a separate website. It's not actually on our website. And then it doesn't have any of our employees or elected officials on the videos. It'll be a voiceover from them. We will determine the topics. It's 5 to 7 topics. So I'm hoping for a decision.
Update on that or any additional
yes,
information?
And Elizabeth also checked your prosecuting attorney, and she didn't see any issues with it. And again, I think we have, and Megan and I have gone through the process. I personally didn't see any pitfalls. I think is an advantage for the county. And I thought that perhaps one of the areas that you may consider as a first video will be economic development in Thurston County. And the quality, I don't know if you've had the chance to see those videos, but the quality of those videos are just professionally done, well made. And I think it really will be an opportunity for the county to showcase what we could offer in that area.
And all the videos would be developed at the same time, and they would be released at the same time. So we would need to determine those topics, things like economic development, tourism, a welcome just to the county, which is one that they always do, a budget one. I mean, we can determine those probably in the next few weeks, but I do want to get back to her and let her know if that's something that we want to do.
So my recommendation for you to consider, give Megan the direction to go ahead and do this.
Joe, go ahead.
I just have one.
Yeah.
Financial impact?
None.
Other than staff resources, which is fairly minimal because they're going to be the ones who are scripting. We'll just review the scripts. We have final edits on everything.
Good.
They'll be doing all of the filming. They'll be doing all the voiceovers. They do the majority of the work. I'll oversee the process basically and make sure that we have final say on everything before it goes out.
And my concern was if they're advertising, that doesn't appear that the county or electeds are endorsing any type of a product.
Right, and I think I believe the company has some parameters to what type of advertisement they put.
Yes.
Because also their reputation's on the line, and I think they have gone through a very smart process because we don't use the county website to advertise. It's on a third party where
Right.
they can place advertisement.
So when we have final editing, or you have final editing rights on it, does that exclude their advertisers?
We can tell them if there's a certain type of business we don't want them to reach out to. They already don't reach out to marijuana, cigarettes, alcohol, any illicit adult things. They don't reach out to any of that. If there is a specific type of business that we don't feel comfortable with, we can talk to them about that before they start reaching out to the businesses.
Okay, good. All right.
So we do also have some control over that as well.
Okay.
So
You have a thumb?
So think about this. We have a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, there's a lot of advertisement
There
that
is.
goes
Yeah.
around.
Yes.
So in this case, we have control of the video, and also there's some parameters as to what type of advertisement will be placed on
Okay.
around this video. So.
Thumb?
Thank
There
you
you
very
go.
much.
You're welcome. And I might add, at the Steady meeting last Friday in Bucota, you were there, Commissioner Edwards, and Megan did an outstanding job presenting in a frigidly cold, haunted building where the haunted house is held, and it was, I don't know if you were cold, it was cold in there, but you were warm and did a great presentation.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. Making us look all good.
Woohoo, Megan!
Woohoo. So now you're done. Yay. That takes care of the PIO. Now let's go back to proclamations and awards. And in the packet, I'm looking at proclamations, and the only one we have for today is the Public Works, but I see one in the packet here for today's date regarding National Military Appreciation Month.
Yeah,
Am I missing something?
Yeah, this just came as a surprise.
Surprise.
And we just wanted to bring this to your attention. In the past, the county has not proclaimed, Service Week, and since this is leading to the Memorial Day holiday, I don't know if you would like to have this as part of this afternoon. There will not be any service members that we can probably come and receive the proclamation. But we just wanted to give you the option, whether you'd like to go ahead with this proclamation and just read it out loud. I think it will be a good thing for you to consider and do. It's the first time ever that perhaps, at least from my knowledge, the county has gone through this proclamation. So for your consideration.
Comments?
I think we can find, if we don't have anybody in uniform currently, I bet you we can find a person that has served in the military and is currently an employee here at the county, possibly.
Yeah,
we'll find somebody to give this proclamation.
We will. Well, let me give it a think. Yes, yes, please, we need to include this, especially in light of Memorial Day weekend coming up.
And I believe some of the public works employees are veterans. They can probably just stay for the proclamation.
perfect.
Sure, good.
Perfect.
Yep.
So if you take the time, please, to after this meeting to review the language of the proclamation. This is new. You have not seen it before.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that you are okay. If there's any changes, we'll change it, but we'll add this item on your agenda today.
But can we please add more proclamations for Commissioner Edwards to read besides just 2 of them? We will read these and get back to you right away.
You may want to.
La Bonita, somebody.
You may want to make a quick call to our partners of the South Sound Military, because I know it's very short notice, but
Yeah.
perhaps one of them can.
Or even the
make
Lacey
it down.
Veterans Hub,
Yeah.
perhaps. Okay, thank you.
Maybe
Perfect.
give Bill a call, and it'll give you a chance to talk to him.
Oh yes, I need to talk to him. Well, I have a meeting this Friday with him.
I think unannounced sometimes is a better meeting, but
I'll give
do
him-
whatever.
We also have one more proclamation.
I see that.
Upcoming for June. And it's just added to this, so you have time to review it, make any changes that you want.
And so we're not having a BoCC meeting next Tuesday
No.
because of the 3-day weekend. So this proclamation will be for the following week. But we are having an agenda setting next Tuesday morning.
No.
No.
We canceled that because I've heard that perhaps the Thurston Mason BHO is planning to have a planning session on that time. So that is the reason that we canceled that.
Okay.
So we will review the agenda on your planning session. There's a schedule for Thursday, May 31st. We'll have in the morning, we'll review the agenda for June 5th.
For June, okay, perfect. And so this will be for June 5th.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay. So we're moving on from here then, we're done with that. Good, thank you. Public hearing, decision pending comp plan, mineral lands designation.
Yeah, let me frame the issue, and then maybe Allison Osterberg and Josh Cummings can come to the table.
Allison, Josh?
Last week, you heard a briefing related to the mineral lands designation, and this is part of the comp plan amendment, as part of the scope of work that you approved. This particular item has gone through the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission has made some recommendations for you. The conversation was gravitated towards the 1,000-foot setback. And the 1,000-foot setback includes the UGA areas as well as some schools and parks. Also, you may recall we drew something on the whiteboard as to how we can probably mitigate the impacts for those properties that perhaps will be on the fringe of that setback. So staff has come back and provided you with 4 alternatives. One is to accept the recommendations from as is from the Planning Commission, which includes the 1,000-foot setback. Second is accept the Planning Commission recommendations with modifications. The modifications that will be probably for you to incorporate some exceptions. They will address some of the concerns that you may have. That's option number 2. Option 1 and 2 do not have a direct impact to the schedule for the completion of the comp plan. Item number 3 will be for for you to eliminate the 1,000-foot setback, and that will require to go through, I believe it's Title 3. Chapter 3. Thank you. We'll go back and open that for comment and eliminate the 1,000-foot back, so it will put a little bit of a setback on the schedule for completion of the comp plan between 1 or 2 months. And the last, and I believe a recommendation you have is just to incorporate, leave the 1,000-foot setback as part of the comp plan, and just adopt the mineral resources land inventory. And that includes everything in the county. That also may create some pros and cons. Some of the cons that I see is you will consider approving a map for mineral resources where existing residence is already in place, and that may create a little bit of a heartburn to some of those individuals. They already live in on those residential areas. So that's the framework. Those are the options you have in front of you, and the staff is here to answer any questions that you may have, and see where you go from here.
Josh, Allison, who's going to go? Are you just answering questions, or do you have anything to present?
I would just give the context for you to remember is that this is part of the overall comprehensive plan update. And so for mineral lands, we worked with the Planning Commission to look at some different options, and they made a recommendation on the scope of work, on the scope of the designation, that making that change from designating just a few mines to designating based on mineral resources across the county. So that's the big change. And the Planning Commission recommendation just countywide, what we have in the current designation criteria, with the exception that they're also allowing for the co-designation of long-term agriculture. So that's the Planning Commission recommendation. What you can do is say we want to consider other options. And when we go back to the Planning Commission to look at Chapter 3, the Natural Resources chapter of the Comprehensive Plan, instead of just having the Planning Commission recommendation as the option, this is the option you've looked at before, and here's a different option or multiple options that the Board of County Commissioners would like to also be considered. And those will be, so for instance, you'd have the Planning Commission recommendation say, we have a different option that removes that 1,000-foot separation from parks and urban growth area boundaries. So the only two where we have that separation. And, or you could could say, and an option that just designates the entire mineral lands inventory. And they would look at that as part of their review of Chapter 3. It would be considered in the public hearing. Those different options would be considered in the public hearing before the Planning Commission. They would make a recommendation as part of your entire recommendation on the comprehensive plan. And then when it comes to you, those options would be there, and you would have your own public hearing on it. So what we're trying to, because we have to write policies based on the options, we're trying to kind of constrain the options that we're writing policies for. The easiest thing for us to do is to take the recommendation, which is based on what we currently, the policies we currently, the designation criteria we currently have, and then we can write the policies to meet that. But as we start kind of multiplying the number of options we're keeping on the table, it creates more work for us to write different versions of policies that would address each.
So may I just jump in real quick? Just accepting the Planning Commission's recommendations, does that add 1 or 2 or 3 months to your time?
It doesn't add anything.
It doesn't add anything.
We're
Doesn't
already
add anything.
moving forward, saying this will be one of the options, and we can draft the policies, so that would not delay.
But, okay, but looking at the 1,000-foot setback, whether we increase it or decrease it, does add a month or 2 months or 3 months.
It could, because, well, one, we would need to consider it as an option, so we'd need to remap it.
Okay.
Do the analysis of how much that would change the acreage, and then we'd need to, if you didn't, you know, you could say no separation from urban growth areas and parks, but if you wanted to do something in between, we'd have to do some research into, you know, what that would be, you know, if it was going to be 500 feet. It probably, you know, we could just come up with a number, and it wouldn't take too much long for us to rerun the analysis, but we would have to recreate some options, recreate some of the analysis that we did with the
Okay.
Commission.
Anything to add?
I would say, thank you. Also, can you speak about option 2 in a little more detail?
Sure.
Then I'll get to you, Gary.
So option 2 is that you accept the Planning Commission recommendation as the main, that's the way the designation criteria kind of stands the way it is now. But we could adopt policies, we would look at the policies for how to deal with parcels that are partially designated. So one policy, for example, could be you have a parcel that's within 1,000 feet of an urban growth area boundary, but some of it's beyond 1,000 feet, and it has mineral lands on it. So there's a minimum amount of the parcel that's still designated as mineral lands. And what we would probably do is if you need a minimum threshold, and this is for any of the parcels, if you have a minimum threshold of mineral lands somewhere on your parcel, you could do mining activity anywhere on the parcel. That's something, that's a policy we've already been exploring, because that's one of those shifts from a designation that was based on a few parcels to one that's based on these kind of these boundaries that are not based on parcel boundaries. So how do we deal with people with that? That was the drawing.
That's the drawing we saw in the map, okay.
So if you're, you know, you got a quarter acre that's designated mineral land, some of it is 1,000 feet from an area, you could go anywhere on that property because you have the right to do the activity on that property.
Let me jump in one more time before you. I kind of favor that, but here's a question I have. When we looked at GIS, or we looked at the mapping, and we found out that all the parcels or many parcels are off by feet, or several feet and such, and as we adjust all these and get them righted, or corrected, how would that impact, I guess you're not in that period now, or that framework where you're within that 1,000 feet. We can't foretell the future just yet, but that could happen.
And parcel boundaries change because people do boundary line adjustments, or they subdivide, or they do all kinds of things. And so there is, part of what we are talking about in the policy section is how often do we need to rerun our analysis to do that. But if somebody in particular wanted to come in and do an application, part of what he would do is confirm the designation criteria on the ground at that time.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess I need clarification on, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. If we just follow what has been recommended by the Planning Commission, there's no delay, right? That just, we move ahead. But that would be the 1,000-foot setback.
It would still be included.
Yeah. If we do 2, 3, or 4, or any portion of them where we make a change, then it goes back for some type of review. So no matter what we do, if we make any type of a change, there's going to be some review.
Option 2, no.
Irregardless, they're going to review it again. So, but the.
Okay, okay, I'm
but
confused.
there's kind of a
Yes or
scale.
no?
But I believe the option 2, adopting the Planning Commission recommendations, and you consider exceptions through a policy process, that doesn't have a direct impact to the schedule of the comp plan.
I guess my concern is I'm not a fan of one size fits all. I mean, just because there's too many variables that could pop up, and oh, we didn't think about that, or that's new, whatever the issue is. So is there some compromise coming up on 2 where we make a modification? We can set a minimum and address any mitigation issues through the permitting process. But even if we write it up that way, it sounds like we have to go back to the Planning Commission and there's going to be some delay.
Yeah, so we would have to go back to the planning commission. So if you were to change the option, we'd need to do a little, like that would be, it wouldn't be an extensive analysis. Option 4 would be a pretty big new option. That would take us a long time to read on it. Option 3 would take us to either remove the 1,000-foot entirely or to do some kind of halfway thing. It would take us a little bit of time. It would add a little bit of time. It wouldn't be no time, but it wouldn't be a ton of time.
So to answer the other question on number 2, option 2 doesn't add any time to the Planning Commission's decision. So you either formalize it in the Planning Commission's decision, the 1,000-foot reduction or whatever case, that will slow down the comprehensive plan discussion. Or option 2 is we do it internal to CPED. And that won't slow down the comprehensive plan. It will add time to the process, but in the policy, the creation of the policy, it won't slow down the planning commission's process on the adoption of mineral ordinance.
But it would leave the 1,000-foot in place, and then it would be up to the CPED to figure it out somehow.
And that's the not one size fits all, so case by case.
And, but you as a commission will have the opportunity to determine what the parameters of that policy is. And that is important to notice. If you go with option 2, you keep that 1,000-foot setback again. But on the policy, that's where you address the no one-size-fits-all approach. So provide the latitude as to how staff needs to manage those unusual stuff.
I don't think I'm going to be prepared to make that decision at this point in time.
This is for information only right now. You're looking for thumbs up or looking for general direction? We're not making a decision.
I was hoping to make a decision, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I attended the mini planning class here the other day, and it was quite informative. Matter of fact, I would recommend that anybody go through it that can. It probably just gave me enough information to make me aware of variance on issues. And I probably have more questions now than when I attended it, but I am not ready to do the one-size-fits-all. I am very hesitant about that. I don't know what comes in the future. I think we need just a little more discussion on that particular issue, at least from my perspective. So the fact that we're up against a time frame doesn't bother me too much, because there's 90 other jurisdictions that are up against time frames as well. A lot of them are well out of compliance. I know many of the counties around here have not done what we're doing on this particular issue yet. So I don't think we should be rushed into it.
Well, I have a wide eye on the time frame as well, but I also have a wide eye as to staff and your commitments and want to be supportive. But I don't like the 1,000 foot, so how we get away from that with the different exemptions as well, I think it merits more discussion.
Okay.
Robin?
So I don't have a comment on this particular item, but I just want to say that when you think about being out of compliance with the comp plan, please do bear in mind that there is a significant financial impact to the county that comes with that decision.
And that's already happened though, right?
And you'll have an executive session later today to discuss specifically this item.
Yeah.
Is that this morning?
Yes.
I actually discussed that with the Department of Commerce last week, and they're going to have a lot of money in the pot if they hold back on those folks that are out of compliance, because we're just one of many that are out of compliance. The key is that we are working towards a solution.
Yeah, and again, I will probably suggest for you to wait until you have an opportunity to have your attorneys in place to see what steps do you have available to you and related to this. But I do believe they will need to move forward to have a completed comp plan amendment as soon as possible. This may be one of the options, that you may want to take some time. But I'd like to ask the Commission, what additional information do you need in order for you to be in the position to make a decision, whatever decision that is? Because it is important, at least from my point of view, to support the staff in terms of delivering what you approve in terms of the scope of work of the comprehensive plan. And whether 90 jurisdictions are out of compliance, with all the respect, I think what we need to do is control our destiny as to how quickly we can complete the comp plan. So that's what I'm asking. What additional information do you need in order for you to be in the position to make a decision?
Go ahead.
I believe what I need is I need a better understanding of what brings us towards some type of a compromise so that our economic engine can continue to function. When it actually comes to gravel mining, because that's what this is mostly about, is gravel mining, that we don't end up having to truck gravel to projects too far, because that becomes counterproductive, whether you're talking about carbon credits or whatever. So I am looking for some type of a compromise to get a better understanding. I don't know, I like to refer to it as kind of the middle of the road, and I'm just not there yet at this point in time.
Yeah, the reason that I'm asking is because I'm going to be bringing this item again next week, you May 31st, and that's what I'm asking. From now until next week, what additional information do you need? If I may paraphrase Commissioner Edwards, perhaps what you need is additional information on option 2 as to how you reach that balance, meaning what type of options would you consider in terms of policy decision that you will create exceptions. Is that?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Is that
anything
fair?
That I can glean towards making the proper decision, I'm always open to.
So I'm trying to put my hands around as to what is it that you need in order to make a decision, because time is of the essence, I believe. And I understand there's a very complex issue in front of you, and there's a lot of information that we can probably provide to you, but I like to be cognizant of the schedule.
I guess I probably need to hear from council if we're discussing that in an upcoming executive session. You know, I need to hear what they say before I make a decision.
On the out of compliance.
It sounds like we have something
later
coming
today.
up.
On the
Later today.
That's specifically on being out of compliance
Yeah.
with the GMA.
Okay.
This is a different, it's
Well,
somewhat
it's part
related,
and
but
parcel.
it's different.
It fits in there somewhere. So I don't want to jump into the decision-making process without all the facts.
I understand that. I just wanted to understand what can we provide to you.
And possibly that's this afternoon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing just options you want to come before you when you have a public hearing.
Yeah.
And then you can hear from all the public. It's about what options are going to be in front of you. If you want an option in front of you to remove the 1,000-foot separation from the designation criteria, we need to know that so we can start creating those decisions.
Is that the same as changing the 1,000-foot?
Well-
Removing is one thing, but changing, is it the same thing?
If the option you want is to change it, we need to know that you want that so that we can start looking at what to propose.
Well, I mean, I think I'm hearing that we're concerned about the 1,000-foot just as a number. And so I need to hear an option about what options are available to us that kind of a middle-of-the-road approach.
That's where I am. I know it's always going to be including, the options will include status quo, and I'm not interested in the status quo in any way, shape, or form. So if we just remove that 1,000 and make it 200, 250, 500, that's going to take study at various distances, I would imagine. But that and or the exemption makes me happy to exempt certain properties that fall within that 1,000. The 1,000 to me is arbitrary and completely unreasonable. So status quo I'm not happy with, but any option that doesn't delay you an inordinate amount of time, and if you need to have from us a certain number of feet, we can probably come up with something, but we're just shooting from the hip. But the status quo does not make it for me. So an exemption probably the most doable, unless we were just cut it in half or do something different.
Maybe what, and I'll ask you, Allison, would it be possible to develop a series of exemptions for next week? Just to give an idea. I know there's not a final decision point, but at least give the parameters as to what type of exceptions the commissioners will consider if they go with option number 2.
Yep, so what we can do is kind of flesh out what that policy would look like, and you can review it on the 31st and decide whether you want to have an option in the designation criteria or an option in the policies.
Yeah, I'll get you, Robin. But when I see neighboring counties have 50, 100, 200, 250 setbacks as limits, I have to question 1,000 feet. 50's too short, in my opinion, but it's somewhere in less than what it is. Robin?
So are you saying that all 4 of these options would be part of the public hearing, that the board doesn't need to pick one of these at this time, or do they need to pick one for the public hearing?
They don't need to pick one, but they need to tell me which ones they want to have.
So you could have all 4 of these be part of the public hearing
Right.
and not pick anything at this
But-
point.
The
But
amount of work
it's
the
a lot
staff
more
needs-
work.
there's
Yes,
the amount
no,
of
got
work.
it. But
Yeah, that's a
So-
concern.
And we haven't set the public hearing yet.
No.
Right? So,
No.
okay.
That's concerning, because I want to be supportive of staff in your time.
right.
In with all the respect, if there's 4 options in front of you, there could be many other options, but requires work.
Right.
And we'll continue to chase this date of completing the comp plan amendment. That is honestly, that is my big concern, based on the conditions that we have right now.
We spent $150,000 of the taxpayers' money to get a professional group to come up with where the resources are. I want to make sure that we take that into consideration as we move forward. So I don't know how that all plays out, but I'm kind of like Hutch. I'm just not thrilled with one size fits all, and I'm looking for some middle of the road. And if that could be some variation of maybe a minimum setback, but protections could be handled through the SEPA process or something. That's that's kind of what I'm looking for. But it has to be written up so that it's so it withstands challenge. I guess that's another issue.
If I may, the investment of $150,000 for the consultant to give us the map, the resource map, has been taken into consideration developing those options. So those were the basis for us to understand where the mineral resources are across the county. That was the basis to start working on the options that you see before you.
And it looks like it's
So that has been already taken into account.
it looks well done.
To kind of wrap this up, I don't know if you have a number in your head or not, but if you take
No.
two of those options, you know, that exemption, the exemption where if this much of the property falls within the 1,000 feet, combined with reduction of 1,000 feet down to 500 feet, but with the exemption that if within that 500 feet, if there's something in that, it would still be exempted. Does that make sense? Still reduce it 1,000 by 500 feet, but add the exemption still, where it's not one size fits all, it's case by case basis.
And then you create if I may, you create another
Please.
option, and I think you stated earlier, the 1,000 feet from your perspective was arbitrary, and I'm not here to justify that's how that came to be. That was established back in
Right.
2006.
Four? 2004, I believe.
Somewhere there.
3
so
or 4.
It's hard to
Yeah, it is.
justify, but if you pick a 500 foot or 200 feet.
It's arbitrary.
That's still that's my concern.
So,
Yeah, you're right, you're
so
right.
you ended up on the same situation that perhaps we're right now. And I do
Reasonably
believe,
arbitrary.
I do believe having the context of the 1,000-foot setback and give you the options for a policy, they exempt some of the areas well thought out. That may be an option that you can probably, what are you looking for? The balance.
If there was an exemption where the totality of the property is within 700 or 800 feet, we can exempt the entire property.
That will be part of your options.
Rather than just a piece of it being in the 1,000 foot, all of it's within, is less than 1,000, then we could look at that on an individual basis. Perhaps. I'm just thinking off the top of my head
I've got
now.
way more questions than we can
Yeah,
answer
we're
here
going to have to put
today.
this off. I'm sorry.
I mean,
Yeah, well, I'll bring it.
Dang,
I'll
nabbit.
bring that for next. But I'm trying to understand what additional information do you need in order for you to be in the position to make a decision? That's really
I
what
kind of
I'm
know
looking
what I
for.
need, but it's going to take some time. I mean, I would like to see some examples. You know, how would it all work if there was a gravel resource within 100 feet of a school, for an example, and we had already set the boundary at 100 feet? Does that mean automatically they get to go to work, regardless of the wind, regardless of a lot of different issues, or can we protect certain areas
Clarifying.
above and beyond?
What you may approve as part of this map, that doesn't mean that you give a green light for mining, because every single application for mining goes through a different permitting process.
Well, then why is the 1,000 foot in there?
Do we have to have a set number in there? We don't have to have 50, 100, 1,000 feet in there in the ordinance at all, in the plan, do we?
Not in the designation.
Then it's case by case basis?
And then we can
Because
protect sensitive areas.
Case by case basis, because let's use your example, and if somebody wants to mine within school, a nearby school, they have to go through a process with DNR to determine whether it's feasible, viable, and they have to go through an environmental process to determine whether that is feasible, viable. So this, whatever you approve, whether it's 1,000 feet or without 1,000 feet, it just sets the parameters. It just sets the parameters.
Right.
You're not permitting a blanket approach every single mining operations because you don't have that authority. Every single mining application has to go through their own permitting process.
And how many mining permits do we deal with? In a year or in a 5-year period? Half a dozen?
No, less than that. I mean, because what we deal with mostly now, we haven't had a new mining permit, I think, in quite a long time. And that's what this would apply to, new mining permit.
New mining, okay.
Any rumblings out there about anybody wanting to do something at a certain
We mostly hear
location?
of people who want to do expansions, right, their existing mines. But part of the reason is that you have to do, right now, because we only designate existing mining parcels, you have to do a comprehensive plan amendment in order to go through the permitting stage. That's part of it. what this would do is exactly what Ramiro said. It's like the first qualifier. It's like you have to be 18 to vote,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean that you're going to vote, unfortunately. but you have to, but that's your first qualifier.
Okay.
You have to be a designated mineral land.
So you're really,
Interesting.
you're not permitting with this action that you
Yeah.
may take down the road. And again, it just sets the stage.
For a minimal number of,
For a middle, and if somebody wants 5 acres, and that's the minimum, and they want to mine that, and with the exceptions, whatever that you decide to do, that 5 acres, they have to go through a permitting process, whether this, again, is feasible, viable,
Reclamation.
all that. So, and from my point of view, I'm not an expert in mining, but the effort may not be worth the expense. So it has to be,
Sizable operation.
sizable. So when you go through the process, you may want to balance that, as you go through it in the decision point, because again, you're not permitting those operations as a blanket with this action.
okay. So did you get direction that, or not?
I mean,
You did
So,
not?
some direction, yeah.
So maybe what we could do is for next Thursday, if you can bring back some of the potential exceptions the commissioners can consider as part of option 2, because the other options are pretty clear, I think. Okay.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Josh. I'm going to jump real quick, the legislative update. There's no legislative update, I would imagine. Good. So I'm going to jump down to the number 2 under Commissioner's check-in, Home Consortium Interlocal Agreement. Is that you, Gary? Okay, because
Yeah,
there's a hint that we might put that
Yeah,
off.
I would like to suggest for the commission to delay that until next Thursday. And Commissioner Blake, myself and Elizabeth have a meeting with the mayors this Friday related to the home dollars. So I think it will be prudent at this point to delay this action until next Thursday until we'll have all that information available to us. That will be my suggestion.
And I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay, we're okay with that. So number
And,
2 is done.
and I checked with Gary, and the timing, I think he is a little tighter, but he can manage that. Wait
Okay.
until next week.
I just didn't want to see you sitting here all morning.
But he's also a number 1.
Oh, okay. Will that take long? Let's do number 1. Come on up, Gary. Let's do number 1, then we'll take a break. And number 1 is tied to 4B on the agenda today?
Is that the set public hearing?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir.
For HUD consolidation plan. Thank you. All right, you got the floor, and this is information only.
Yes, sir. Gary Hayden, Public Health and Social Services. This item today is talking about the Thurston County.
Bring it closer, please. Bring it closer. There you go.
This item today is talking about the Thurston County HUD Housing and Urban Development Consolidated Plan. It is a plan that is required by the Department of Housing and Urban Development for every jurisdiction that receives community development block grant or home, or actually several other funding sources. HUD requires that we do a 5-year strategic plan identifying the types of activities that are going to be undertaken with the federal money that comes to the jurisdiction. In this case, this is a regional consolidated plan. It involves the City of Olympia. It's a cooperative effort. City of Olympia is also a federal CDBG, Community Development Block Grant jurisdiction. They receive their own entitlement money from HUD. So there are 2 in Thurston County that are CDBG entitlements. Thurston County for the urban county representing all other cities and towns, and the City of Olympia. So we've combined together and done this strategic plan. We've contracted with the State of Washington Department of Research and Services. And the strategic plan, I would point out, is actually around 300 pages. So what you have in front of you is the what we're calling the citizens summary. It's a short 22-page description of all of the activities that are in the plan and the goals and all that good stuff. Total revenues for the 2018 year. This year, for us, the program year starts in September. We're anticipating $2,016,142 in federal money coming to the county for a variety of projects I'll talk about in just a second. And the life of the plan over the next 5 years, we're anticipating, if Congress so decides to fund us, and the President signed the bill, over $10 million coming to the county over the next 5 years. We do a consolidated plan every 5 years. In this case, this is the 4th consolidated plan for Thurston County. This began in 2003. So this plan is for 2018 through 2022. Your next plan would be 2023 through 2027. That sounds a long ways away.
It does.
But that's the sequence that HUD requires. What we have done with this is we've done citizen surveys. We've looked at all of the existing strategic plans. We've looked at capital development plans. We've looked at the needs from our cities and their plans. We've worked with TRPC to gather data from them. We've looked at the county comp plan, the housing element specifically. And we've looked at the draft 5-year homeless housing plan and pulled all that data together. And we've created 6 goals. And these are big strategic goals, top level, under which a variety of activities can be accomplished. And those goals, I'd ask you to take a look at page 19 in this document here. Page 19 will show you what those goals are. They include affordable housing. It would be a page that looks like this here on the yellow sheet. Yes. Affordable housing, and that includes the acquisition, the rehabilitation, the new construction of housing that is affordable for individuals, families that are at or below 80% of median income in the county, because that's the focus of this money. The homeless continuum of care is a complete range of services from dealing with folks who are in need of prevention to not become homeless, to providing shelters, to providing services, food, clothing, all types of various services, and housing for those who are currently homeless, rapid rehousing, that type of program. Land acquisition for affordable housing has been a goal now for the last 8 years in this plan, and plan prior to this. Public services are essential services that are delivered to, again, low-income individuals or families in our community. Include things like food banks. That's a top need that has been identified over the years. Public facilities and infrastructure. This particularly relates to what our smaller cities in the town of Dakota are doing. They've, for example, we have since 2013 funded in the town of Dakota water line repair, and that's considered infrastructure with HUD. And we're replacing existing asbestos pipe in the town of Dakota that they need to keep. I'll just pick an example. The numbers will be wrong, but if it takes 100 pounds of water pressure in a pipe to keep it fully inflated, in Dakota they have to run around 110 or 120, because when they get down to 120, the pipe starts to collapse, and it's asbestos pipe. So they need to replace all that with new water lines. So we've been working with them over the years to replace all of their existing water lines in town.
Are they actually replacing those, or there's a new concept out there, they line them with something?
Yeah, and they're replacing these because the challenge, as I understand it, from the mayor, is that as those pipes begin to collapse, the asbestos gets in the water line, and so they just want to replace it completely and put in new steel pipe or whatever it is they're using out there right now. So that process has been ongoing, and then economic development has been an activity that has taken, particularly in the city of Lacey. They have used the CDBG money to do a veterans employment program, and the city of Tumwater has used it to fund business training for for low-income individuals to teach them how to start their own business opportunities. So that's a good use of an eligible activity for CDBG. So,
Gary,
yes,
maybe this will be a good time to explain the process as to how the CDBG program is allocated among the jurisdictions as well as the South County, as we call it.
In 2013, when this program was originally pulled together, the county became an urban county in HUD's designation that included all of the cities and towns except Olympia and Thurston County. The agreement was achieved where there would be a rotation of the entire CDBG award amongst, and I'll pick the city of Lacey first, the city of Tumwater second, and then third, Thurston County, unincorporated Thurston County, and the 4 small cities and towns. So every 3 years, each one of those jurisdictions gets their pick of projects that are eligible under HUD guidelines. So this year, and thank you for bringing that up, this year's projects were the city of Tumwater. So I'll move on to the page 21 in your document. And this is the page looks like this, a little more color on that page. And this talks about the projects that have been selected this year by the city of Tumwater, the city of Olympia, because remember I said it's a regional effort. And the amount of money that we're anticipating going to each of those projects. So in this case, you see when it says CDBG Urban County, that's actually the city of Tumwater's selection for this year. And then when it says CDBG Olympia, that is a selection by the city of Olympia for their CDBG money. And where it says home or home, H-O-M-E, CHODO, C-H-D-O, those are projects that were identified in the housing pipeline through the Housing Action Team work of Thurston Thrives. So we have a variety of projects here, and these are our projects that were selected, as Romero mentioned, through that rotation process. Next year, for example, when we come to next year, it will be the county and the 4 small cities making that choice again. So we'll be coming to you and saying, and it has been traditionally the county managers sits in with the mayor to make project selections, and the staff role there is to identify projects, review them for eligibility, and bring them forward for selection by the 4 mayors and the county manager, to then make a recommendation to the commissioners for those projects. So each year we go through this rotation process. The home money, the federal home money, is all about housing. It can only be used to create new housing, rehabilitate housing. It's all housing. Can't be used for any other purpose. It is eligible to fund projects in the city of Olympia with home money. It is eligible to fund projects in any city or town in the county and unincorporated area also for home money. So this is a federal plan that has an annual plan that is attached to each of the 5 years. So when I say this, these are the projects for 2018. There'll be a new list of projects for 2019. And the project list, as I said, would reflect what is selected by the 4 mayors and the county manager and the board of commissioners for 2019, plus Olympia projects. So we just keep going through this rotation every year. So this is the requirement of HUD that we have a 30-day public comment period. And our item today on your agenda is to ask you to set the public hearing for the 26th, I believe, of June. I believe it's June.
26th.
Public hearing ad goes in the paper this weekend with your approval, and we'll do a 30-day public comment period. We'll take comments. Yes, ma'am.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just letting him know that when the time came, I had a question.
Yeah, Romero
Romero
went
does
first.
too, yeah.
Just
get to you, Gary.
to complement what Gary stated, the last time the county and the unincorporated as well as the cities went through this process of 2016. At that point, they selected a project with Habitat for Humanity. That project didn't materialize. And as a result, the group convened late last year, and you already took an action to take those dollars reallocated. It was reallocated to the Tenino swimming pool, and also to cover some of the overrun costs on the water replacement of Bucoda.
Yeah.
So, and those actions you took maybe in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So, and that is the process that goes through it. Sometimes the recommendations for a project are done, you approve it, and sometimes the recipient may not be able to deliver those services, then goes back to the pot and reassigned on the same group per se. And I attended the City Council for Tumwater when the CDBG projects were discussed, and that was a specific question by some of the City Council members. Said, the City of Tumwater right now, they're going through the process of allocating projects. If some of those recipients are not able to deliver the services, what happens with the money? And Gary said if that money comes back, and the City of Tumwater will have the opportunity to reallocate those funds. So it's not like it just goes back to the fund. So as a matter of clarification.
And we do have that ongoing relationship with the cities where we continue to work with them throughout the life of the grants. And they can be 3-4 years until the projects actually get completed, because many of them are capital projects.
All right, Robin.
So I know that you're on a fairly tight deadline now to have everything submitted to HUD so that we can receive the next round of funding. My question is about the agreements between the county and the cities. I'm curious if the cities have signed on to that agreement to be part of a consortium again this year.
Excuse me, 2 of the cities have got their documents in, City of Yelm and City of Tenino. I talked with the city of Lacey, and they said they had got the notice and it was on their
Work session.
Thank you very much. I talked with John Doan before he went on vacation. He said, yes, we have it. It's on our agenda. We're going to get it done.
Okay.
So,
Good.
not talked with Dakota. I tried to check them actually yesterday, see if they had anything online.
Moving forward. Good. Thank you.
Gary, questions, comments?
I do. I don't know, this is kind of outside the box, I guess, but do the municipal, or could the jurisdictions that normally rotate, do they ever consolidate their funding and do something for the greater good of those folks maybe that fall within that category, homeless and such, as a project rather than piecemealing it out incrementally to different areas? I mean, has that ever been looked at? And I can give you a specific. I mean, clean water is kind of my thing, and so over on Martin Way, over by DeVoe Street, and then across the street from the VFW, there's 2 homeless camps in there that have probably well over 100 people in there, and they're right on the water, and they have no sewer facilities, and we're talking about water quality all the time. I know a porta potty isn't a house by any stretch of the imagination, but could resources be utilized to at least maybe put porta potties in those kind of locations where maybe those unfortunate individuals would have some sanitary facilities to use instead of contaminating our environment? And so I don't know what it would take to do that, or if it's even eligible to do something like that. I would hope there could be a little wash station, enclosed or built there. But I don't know anything about really what you're doing and the criteria. Is there ever anything looked at like that we could do something in conjunction? Maybe we could solve 2 problems. We could help some homeless folks and we could help the environment all at the same time with that same pot of money.
First example would be the City of Tumwater, who has chosen to fund the community kitchen that Catholic Community Services run project that feeds homeless individuals, operates out of the Salvation Army. So they chose to take some of their money and spend it in the city of Olympia on homeless populations. Related specifically to, what I think it refers to as the jungle area there. that would be a public service, and no one has come out and said they want to use CDBG money for that purpose. It'd be in the city of, I think it's the city of Olympia.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that there's many discussions right now on the type of activities would be best to help those folks out there, including the placement of dumpsters and public health kind of issues. All that's under discussion right now. But no one has approached us about doing that. I think you could make a case that it would be eligible. When you talk about public services, the CDBG grant is very specific. Only 15% of the total grant can be used for public services, so roughly $150,000 is all you could spend on that type of activity. So you'd have to find an activity that would fit within that, and so.
I mean, do you need, would you need this would have to come from a board discussion, I guess, and then we would maybe ask you to work with somebody to try and figure something like that out?
Happy to work with anybody you want us to work with to make something like that happen. I think the challenge would be that if you're going to change the structure that is designed to deliver this money to each jurisdiction, that's written in interlocal agreements and MOUs. So you'd have to probably change the MOUs or the interlocal agreements to get, City of Lacey to give up some of its money, or Tumwater to give up some of its money, or
Okay.
the small cities to make that happen. So.
And when it comes to social policy like that, it was a fine line between trying to help these folks. You're building places for them. You're trying to get them into housing of some sort at some level. At the same time, you're making it convenient and comfortable for them to stay.
I know. I'm just trying. I'm trying to protect the environment.
The environment. I understand that. Yeah, that's a whole different discussion. You can spend a day on that one. I just have one question, and that is, when looking at page 19, it says land acquisition, high priority. That means it's a requirement.
No, that means it is a high priority for expenditure. So if a good opportunity comes across, for example, in the city of Olympia, where they've talked about acquiring a building or land or something on which to put a day center or a facility like that, that would be a high priority for use of the CDBG money for them to use it to acquire that.
So I compared that with page 21, which says land acquisition. There's nothing in there at all.
Right, because there are 6 big strategic goals, and we only have this small pot of money.
Okay.
And so some year you'll hit 3, some year you might hit 5 if you're really lucky.
What is 3 or 5? What's that mean?
3 or 5 of the goals might be.
Okay.
So you might, this year we got a lot in affordable housing. Next year we may have less in affordable housing and more in economic development. But each year, all of the goals, the big picture goals, are going to get a little touch, hopefully, from the existing revenues.
When you talk about housing, I know the one property owner over on DeVoe Street has said he'd sell his place for not much, and maybe some kind of housing could be put up in that area or something. But we have all the regulatory stuff about we can have the homeless camp there and the stream used for a toilet, but we can't have a building in close proximity because of setbacks. So there's a lot of things to figure out, I guess. Okay.
Thank you. Do you have what you needed? Good information. And speaking of toilet, we're going to take a break. 10 minutes. 10 minutes for staff. So 10:45. Please be back 10:45. Thank you, Gary. Ramiro? Oh, welcome.
Hey.
Welcome back.
I think we close the door will be better. Yep.
Welcome. Well, welcome back. There we go. Okay, Ramiro, not knowing exactly how long some of these other ones are going to take, then we have staff in the room, but we also have an executive session. What do you recommend we should take next?
A couple of things. Staff as well as Travis needs to be by 11:30, and they are part of the executive session. If maybe what you may consider going through item number 3, that is.
Transfer development rights?
Yeah, I believe you have already heard what this is all about, and Allison has met with individual commissioners to provide additional feedback. Without getting too much into the details of this, I'm just asking as to how you would like to proceed.
So you want to hear the number 3 now then?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Allison, do you want to come up?
Yeah,
Is there anything more, or you just need to know?
Really is a decision whether you like to move forward with this or not.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't think we've got thumbs up from Allison. Good. That takes care of number 3. Now you want to go into executive session?
I will probably suggest to go to an executive session just to give you the opportunity to discuss this a little more in detail.
All right.
And because that is important, extremely important. And considering the main attorney, Travis, needs to move into a settlement conference at 11:30.
Okay.
It'll be timely.
And it's 10 till, so let's do that now then. Thank you, staff. Sorry. Goodbye. Bye, Chris. Make sure your microphones are off.